Back in the Oval Office for his second term, US President Donald Trump has been spitting fire, especially on trade relationships where he feels America is being ripped off. He has threatened and put on a temporary pause tariffs on Canada and Mexico. He's also imposed 10% tariffs on China and a flat 25% on all steel and aluminum imports into the US. And to top it all, he's announced reciprocal tariffs starting the 1st of April on every single trading partner of America. But vis-a-vis China, while all the headlines are fire and brimstone, insiders say that President Trump is also eyeing the possibility of a new trade deal with China. Although there would be significant hurdles to reaching any agreement, the US president would like to strike a wide-ranging deal with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping. Trump wants this deal to go beyond just reworking the trading relationship. He's expressed interest in a deal that would include substantial investments and commitments from the Chinese to buy more American products. It is similar to a limited deal that Trump struck with the Chinese in 2020, but ultimately that deal failed because of China's failure to buy an additional $200 billion of goods and services under that agreement. Trump would like an agreement to also include issues like nuclear weapons security, which he wants to directly negotiate with Xi Jinping. Trump is already following a familiar playbook of tariffs as well as other threats as he looks to renegotiate a deal with China. On the 1st of February, he hit Beijing with a 10% tariff on all Chinese imports. He in fact called it an opening salvo, quickly resulting in retaliation from the Chinese. He has now floated the idea of revoking permanent normal trading ties between China and the United States. This is similar to the most favored nation status that countries extend to each other under the framework of the WTO. The normal trading relationship or this trading arrangement between the US and China extends to more than 20 years ago. China is one of America's biggest trading partners, but also one of America's biggest national security threats. It is also a pivotal actor on the world stage when it comes to nuclear security, pandemic preparedness, cutting-edge critical technologies. Whether the United States and China attain closer ties or whether they spiral into conflict may come down largely to the mercurial temptations and temperaments of both Donald Trump and Xi Jinping. The US president has reportedly told some of his closest advisors just a few months ago that he wants to make a deal with Xi Jinping which would be beneficial for both sides. The Trump team has been discussing issues like who would take charge of the talks, what elements of the 2020 trade deal have the Chinese failed to honor, and how best to bring China back to the negotiating table. Trump's advisors say that both governments would have to overcome many obstacles if they have to eventually reach a deal, and that the Trump administration has not yet determined what it exactly wants from China. The two sides have also been floating proposals, either to bring Xi Jinping to Mar-a-Lago, much like it happened in Trump's first term, or in fact fly Trump to Beijing, again like it happened in the Trump first term, but no official visit is planned currently between Xi Jinping and Donald Trump. Howard Lutnick, who's Trump's Commerce Secretary, and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, along with billionaire Elon Musk, have been encouraging Trump to cut a deal with China. They are telling the president that he is in a position to strike a significant agreement with Beijing. The president and his advisors blame the Chinese for not keeping the terms of the 2020 agreement, as well as, of course, the Biden administration for failing to enforce it. Throughout Trump's first term, he held trade talks with the Chinese, and ultimately he ended up imposing tariffs on more than $300 billion of Chinese products. This was an effort to try and force the Chinese to get into an agreement, but the Chinese could not fulfill their end of the bargain. But even after Trump left office, Biden kept up much of the tariffs against China, but it did not get China to fall in line. In their 2020 pact, Chinese officials had pledged to open certain markets for foreign companies, better protect technology secrets, as well as buy American agricultural produce and American energy. But they never came close to meeting the purchasing targets, which was in excess of $200 billion. At that time, Beijing said it was because of the COVID pandemic. In an executive order signed on his very first day, Trump ordered his advisors to review China's compliance with that deal and decide whether or not to impose tariffs by 1st of April. Some American analysts have said that recent weaknesses in the Chinese economy might make Xi Jinping more willing and more open to striking a deal. Weakness in the property market has forced Beijing to lean even more heavily on its exports. China is currently flooding the world with cars, solar panels, electric batteries, and it's basically putting factories in other countries out of business. That would be a problem for America. Chinese officials seem to view Trump pretty warily, expecting relations to be contentious in the near future. They are aware that Trump is not afraid of imposing stiff tariffs as well as other penalties, but they're also eager to want to work with Trump. They know that Trump wants to rearrange trading relations, particularly between the world's top two trading nations, and if they were to offer him that possibility, that could bring him to the negotiating table. Some Chinese analysts also feel that Trump will ultimately feel compelled to make good on the promises that he made to voters to promote economic growth and particularly promote job growth through exports. This, of course, would enthuse his MAGA base. It'll play well in the Rust Belt in the Midwest of the United States, from where Trump derives a large amount of his support. One Chinese offer could include investments in America that would create an estimated 500,000 jobs in industries like solar, electric vehicles, batteries. Chinese companies are also willing to discuss taking minority stakes in joint ventures or even simply licensing their technology to American partners. The proposal could also include substantial Chinese purchase of American exports, as well as cooperation on maintaining peace with North Korea and ultimately nudging the Russians to rebuild Ukraine. It may also include promises to maintain the superiority of the dollar as the preeminent global currency, something that is a top priority for Donald Trump. It's not clear, though, what the Chinese would ask for in return, though many believe that Xi Jinping would try and get some relief from some of the tariffs that Trump has imposed or plans to impose. But more critically, China would want the lifting of export controls that have limited China's access to advanced technology. And this, coming at a time of automation and AI, is something that China can ill afford. The Chinese have also been probing the role of Elon Musk, who has, of course, extensive business interests in China through Tesla. In fact, one of Tesla's biggest gigafactories happens to be in China. They're keen to see what kind of role he will play in the Trump administration and whether they can use his good offices to lean on Trump. Han Zheng, who was China's vice president and who was sent to attend Trump's inauguration back in January, he met with both Elon Musk and Vice President J.D. Vance. Welcoming Chinese factory investment into the United States could be a divisive issue, not just across America, but within the Trump administration itself. Several of Trump's officials, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, and Senior Trade Counselor Peter Navarro, all of them see Chinese investment as a security threat. Even Donald Trump, the world's most powerful man with a renewed mandate, will have to walk the fine line between managing economic interests and security imperatives.